Hello there and welcome to Preparing for Legion. In this series of 10 videos we're going to discuss how you can prepare for the launch of Legion, be it things you can do right now or information about the various systems you'll be interacting with upon launch. Hopefully these will help you prepare yourself for the next expansion. In this video we're going to discuss preparing your characters. Now there are a few things you might want to do so that you're prepared to take the fight to the Broken Isles. First of all, the main one, choose your main class and your alts. Since Legion will reward time invested with gear and artifact power, to get the most out of a class you're going to want to dedicate some time to it once the expansion hits. So you're going to want to focus on a main rather than lots of different alts. But rather than just tell you to make a decision and be like, you have to do this, let's instead cover the classes really quickly and discuss some of their pros and cons so that it can help you make a decision. Starting with the Death Knight. These undead knights have seen quite a change through the rune system. No longer do they use different types of runes, like Blood, Frost, Unholy, and Death. Now, every rune is a different type, so as a Death Knight, your rotation is more about the cooldown of your abilities and your overall rune generation, rather than comboing different types of runes and turning them into death runes temporarily. You will, however, still be using runic power. Blood will get marrow rend, tearing bones from their foes to protect themselves, which is something else to think about. Frost is a little more simple, and is all about generating and consuming procs of Killing Machine for huge, constant critical strikes. Oh, and they can summon Syndragosa. Their weapons are literally made from the fragments of Frostmourne. Finally, Unholy has a new system of applying and bursting diseases on enemies, and their artifact ability lets them summon even more undead minions than they already have. Naturally, the Death Knight has some amazing animations with the new system, in particular the new Death Strike animation. Their class fantasy is pretty damn strong right now. The Druid. The biggest advantage for these Guardians of Nature is their 4 specializations. They have a hugely diverse playstyle, and they can do literally everything. Seriously, they can be range damage, melee damage, healers, and tanks. Their shape-shifting style hasn't taken too big of a hit, and many of their rotations and styles are intact, with some tweaks. Balance, for instance, now uses an astral power bar, which removes the randomness of the eclipse bar and replaces it with a resource to generate and consume. Starfall is now targeted, and their artifact ability is a fairly complex 3-ability button. Feral is still all about bleeds, and their models are just absolutely unparalleled levels of gorgeous. They'll get new ones based on their artifact. It's just amazing. Guardian Druids have changed a fair amount though. They're now more about increasing their armor and reducing the damage they take rather than just avoiding it. I mean, they're bears. Plus, their models just look amazing. Just like Feral Druids, they will get access to a whole bunch of different models, including a Stone Bear. Restoration is still about healing over time, with their artifact ability even speeding up their heals over time, so you can just get numbers all over your screen. Their class order hall is pretty amazing as well. It's just so pretty. The Hunter. With the inclusion of a melee hunter specialization with survival, the hunters have seen some big changes. Marksmanship can now run without a pet and is all about bouncing powerful shots off of targets that they have marked. Beast Mastery summons a constant stream of beasts to fight for them, with one of the coolest and most fun artifact quest chains around. And Survival is basically a brand new class that not only uses Mongoose Bite combination mechanics to do huge amounts of burst damage, but they also incorporate their explosive traps and even grenades into their main rotation. I mean, they're just awesome. The Mage. The casters have seen relatively few changes, with the Mage specializations playing fairly similarly to how they did before. Arcane is all about mana management, but it's much more about not running out of mana than it is keeping your mana pool high. Fire is still about their huge critical strikes, but they have lots of methods to obtain those critical strikes beyond just their gear. And Frost remains mostly unchanged, save for some extremely cool talents that interact with how they generate icicles. The Mage is still great fun to play, and their class hall overlooks Dalaran, which, I mean, is just amazing. The Monk. These masters of hand-to-hand combat are incredibly fun to play. The Brewmaster has received plenty of work to make it much more about chugging brews to survive rather than just maintaining a big damage shield, and their artifact weapon is just amazing. The Mistweaver remains mostly unchanged, but they have some great new abilities that help them heal in area of effect situations, and the talent that lets them dash to allies is huge amounts of fun to play with. They are so mobile, by far the most mobile healer. The Windwalker has seen some changes as well, with their new mastery offering not only a great playstyle, but some awesome class fantasy. Their ability to cleave is massively increased with Storm, Earth, and Fire, and their new spinning Dragon Strike talent is great fun to play with. The Paladin. The righteous defenders of the light have seen some awesome changes, with Holy now wanting to get into the thick of it a little bit more, and with an all-new martyr effect that lets them sacrifice their own health to heal others. Protection is now all about healing themselves with the light of the Protector, and Retribution not only gets to wield the freaking Ashbringer, but they have a variety of abilities that not only protect them, but deal damage to others based upon the damage they take, and even the deaths that they witness. While it's a little bit controversial, the Paladin remains a fantastic source of class fantasy and fun. The Priest. The Priest has received some much-needed TLC in Legion, with Holy now offering a great playstyle with their Holy Words. With chakras removed entirely, Holy is now much more of a vanilla healer, and it's just great. It plays so lovely. Discipline is reworked to be about both damage and healing, and Atonement is now vital to its success. It's a huge source of controversy, yes, but the class fantasy of a righteous priest that smites their foes is now greater than ever. Finally, Shadow has been reworked, with a new insanity mechanic that sees them pushing the limits of their abilities for greater and greater haste bonuses, to the point where they can even kill themselves with Surrender to Madness. Yeah, you literally explode. With the Void Lords poking at Warcraft's lore now, the Shadow Priest is currently the only specialization to tap into the power of the Void and the old gods themselves. The Rogue. The Outlaw is obviously the biggest change to the Rogue, removing combat entirely and offering a pirate playstyle for substitute. This one not only uses saber strikes, but also pistol blasts and cannonball barrages to kill their enemies. They also use the Roll the Bones mechanic, which allows them to gain randomized combat bonuses that can range from acceptable to great to absolutely amazing. And with Blade Flurry, they can do amazing AoE damage. The Assassination Rogue is all about bleeding their foes and poisoning the wounds that they create, with some amazing damage over time potential that can't be dispelled or removed through normal means. They can even speed up their dots as well, which is awesome. Finally, the Subtlety Rogue has been tuned so that the shadow dancing they do is much more frequent, allowing them to use their stealth-specific abilities in the middle of a fight. They are super mobile, and all rogues have a huge variety of defensive and utilitarian abilities. Plus, they get secret doors to their class order hall. That's awesome. The Shaman. Enhancement has received some big changes, offering an entirely new playstyle with all new spells. It's much cleaner than it is before, and the Shaman spells have been separated into their various specializations so that they are all more unique. They've all had new talents and new changes, and they're all just so much cleaner and so much less clunky. Elemental is once again the king of multi-strike, and is the only shaman that can summon elemental spirits. Restoration remains the master of healing allies that are on low health, with great area of effect healing capabilities just like normal. The biggest change is naturally the Maelstrom bar for both Enhancement and Elemental Shaman, offering a unique resource for damage dealing. Their Maelstrom class order hall is pretty damn awesome as well. The Warlock. Although Affliction and Destruction haven't seen massive changes, the Demonology Warlock most certainly has. It's now all about summoning in tons of demons and using them to destroy their enemies. Be it throwing imps into an explosion of power, empowering their servants with energy, or draining their minions' life energy for huge attacks, the Demonology Warlock has changed significantly. Affliction remains the master of damage over time effects, and the longer a fight is, the more they're going to shine. Destruction is still the Fire Mage on Fel Magic, with huge Chaos Bolts to annihilate their foes. They get an entire world as their class hall as well, with some truly amazing quests to become master of a demon army. As you do. The Warrior. The good old Warrior gets to go to Valhalla for their class order hall, and they literally teleport by jumping out of the sky. Arms remains fairly unchanged, much more about huge hits separated by downtime, whilst Fury is all about constantly pressing abilities and becoming enraged to deal bursts of damage at the expense of being a bit easier to kill. And Protection has seen some huge changes, with a brand new active mitigation ability and changes to how their abilities work. They literally say, screw you, I'm just not going to take that damage. It's called Ignore Pain, and it's awesome. The Warriors' animations are incredible, and they can boast a unique animation for their Rampage ability as Fury Warriors. Finally, the Demon Hunter. The brand new class introduced in Legion, the Demon Hunter is fast. Really, really fast. Havoc is going to be all about moving around to deal damage, and if you want to do the absolute best you can, you're going to be moving around a lot to gain momentum for huge numbers. Vengeance, on the other hand, is all about self-healing, eating the souls of their foes to regain health and fight harder than ever. Also, they grow spikes out of their back. The class fantasy of the Demon Hunter is very impressive, with 2 new cinematics depicting their story. They're going to be part of the heart and soul of this expansion. So those are the classes that you can pick from. Now, what can you do on your characters to prepare for Legion's launch? Well, the first thing you need to do is clean up your bags, bank, and void storage. Remember that the new transmogrification system means that you don't need items stored somewhere to use their model. As long as they've been soulbound to you, they're part of your collection. So clear things out. Make room, you're going to need it. Legion is going to bring all new items to clog up your storage and your bags, so make as much room as is physically possible. If an item is specific to Warlords of Draenor, vendor it, sell it on the auction house, or just delete it if you can't. You're not going to need it anymore. It's going to be useless to you soon, so make sure you sell your profession reagents if you don't need them. There are still people leveling up professions that will buy your materials on the auction house. You can make a pretty tidy profit from doing this. Make sure you spend your garrison resources on reagents to use or just flat out sell. Turn in your Apexis crystals and vendor the stuff you get. Drain your garrison resources. Spend your primal spirits. Clear everything out. Everything must go. This includes your mission tables as well. Do 1 or maybe 2 final last sweeps and then just let them be. Make as much gold as you possibly can. It will help you significantly. Be organized. Next up, your professions. Get them ready to go. Maximize not only your main professions, but also your secondary ones as well. Make loads of healing tonics for first aid, do your garrison fishing dailies, and lots of fishing to get yourself ready to fish on the Broken Isles. Gather and create as many items as you can, and even do some archaeology if you want to. The higher these skills are, the better. 700 is your goal for all of them if you want to be truly prepared. Also consider preparing your characters for the leveling process. Sure, you don't absolutely need to do this, but doing things like brewing flasks and potions will help you significantly. A good stack of flasks and 2 or 3 stacks of potions will see you through the process at maximum efficiency. Get your gear upgraded with Valor, enchant your items, and make or buy yourself some food so that you have ways to heal yourself and grant buffs while outside in the world. Healing tonics are also really great there. This is especially important on classes with little or no self-healing, like warriors. Prepare your user interface as well. Make sure that your add-ons are nice and updated and that you haven't let an alt's user interface fall into disrepair. I'm very guilty of this, especially if you intend to play it at some point. There's nothing more depressing than logging onto a character and seeing a user interface that is just a shambles and thinking, I'm not going to be playing this character for at least another hour. So try and get that done now. Get your characters that you're going to play into Dalaran above Deadwind Pass so that you're ready to go as soon as you log in on launch day. Finally, gear yourself up as much as you can. You don't need super powerful weapons since you'll get artifact weapons very early on in Legion, but the rest of it is still useful to you. If you're a new level 100 or you're under item level 700, get yourself through plenty of Legion invasions and gather nether shards. The gear you get from them is great for preparing for Legion and you're going to get a lot of it very quickly. So start fighting back. It will help you out hugely when you're first getting into Legion leveling content and your first normal mode dungeons. The more you want to put into all of this, the more characters you can prepare. As long as your main characters are prepared in this regard, you won't have any issues. You want Legion to be as smooth and enjoyable as possible, of course, so get this stuff out of the way now rather than later. It will help you significantly. There's nothing worse than logging in on an expansion day and being like, right, let's go and, oh, hang on, I need to go and clear out my bags, and then I need to sort out my user interface, and then I need to make sure all my gold is in the right place, and get that done now, so that you can just get in there right away. That will conclude this guide. Next time, we'll be discussing your artifact weapon, how it works, what kinds of paths to take depending on your class and specialization, how to prioritize your power and knowledge, how they work on alts, and more. I hope you enjoyed this video and you found it helpful. If you have any questions, thoughts, comments, or suggestions, you can contact me using the links in the description, or you can just leave a comment. If you want to help support the channel, there's a link to my Patreon page in the description as well. Thank you so very much for watching, and I wish you the best of luck in the world of Warcraft.